Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of my new series, The Future Mind, that looks at the psychology behind future readiness. Let me start by asking you a simple question. Think about a leader who you really admire and think about why you admire them. Now, some of you may have picked someone like Ratan Tata, some of you may have picked someone like Dhirubhai Ambani, Steve Jobs, Indra Nui. I mean, you take your pick. And then if I were to ask you, what is it that you admire about them? Chances are it'll be a story of them doing something in the face of tremendous challenge. And that's really at the heart of this episode, where we're going to speak about the inescapable role of courage in being prepared for a very different world, an uncertain future. The irony is that when we look at leadership development programs of the best organizations across the world, you'll find topics such as people management, business strategy, today, even topics like AI, data, technology, digital, many subjects. But very rarely do we see an actual conversation around the role of courage. So, what is courage? The dictionary definition of courage is actually quite simple. It is being able to act for what is right, what we believe is right, even in the face of danger or tremendous challenges. And I'm sure you've grown up on stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata, or you take it, any epic. Every single book that inspires has at the heart of it what's often called the hero's journey, where the main protagonist is placed in a situation of tremendous challenge, difficulties, danger, uncertainty, and then goes on to do remarkable things despite all of that, despite the fear, despite the danger. And we are all drawn to stories of courage. I mean, from the time we were kids, we were drawn to stories of courage because perhaps it evokes within us, this deep desire to maybe rise beyond the place that fear holds us in. And that's what today's episode is about. So, how does courage connect with future readiness? If I were to look at it, there are at least two different ways. The first is that we are moving into a world where there is more and more that we've never seen before. Every few weeks, the world changes in the most unexpected ways. For those of you who are following geopolitics, it's been a very, very interesting set of few weeks. I'm not going to say too much more. This is not that show, but that's the reality. We are living in a world where there's so much that changes in such unpredictable ways, whether it's geopolitics, whether it's technology, whether it's shifts in the way organizations are being structured. And you can see that in employment data across the world. We are living in a world of great uncertainty and um, where a lot that's happening is unexpected and unfamiliar. To be successful in a world like that means managing your fears. Or actually, let me take that back. It means recognizing that you are scared and still doing what you think needs to be done. Now, we could have our own reasons for why we think we should do what we should do. For some of us, it could be our own professional ambitions. We want to, accomplish XYZ in our professional capacity. We feel scared about where we are today, but we recognize that we still have to go and do something that's important for that goal. For someone else, it could just be that they want to protect what they already have and make sure that, they are their business is protected or their professional role is protected. For someone else, it could be about standing for what is right. Your courage comes from your convictions, your values, your core beliefs. And of course, in reality, it'll be some combination of all three of these. So courage is at its heart about recognizing danger, uncertainty, fear, and yet being able to act despite all of that. Um, the second reason why future readiness is so connected with courage is that bringing something new into the world takes courage. Whether it was bringing the iPhone, whether it was bringing, Geo into the world, whether it was bringing in, your 10-minute delivery, anything new that hasn't been done before, when you bring it into the world, it's an act of courage. I mean, in a small sense, even this series is an act of courage. Uh, and being successful in a world that's changing so fast is going to need more and more regular acts of doing something new. And each of those examples is an act of courage. So, if courage is so much at the heart of what being future ready is all about, what is it that you and I can actually do to increase our courage quotient daily? I'm going to share with you two very simple, easy things that you can bring in right after this call. Now, the first is that research shows that the more we recognize our own capacity to deal with change, the more comfortable we are with dealing with change. So, I'm going to ask you to think about all the times in your life where you've been placed in situations where the situation was uncertain, unfamiliar, risky, challenging, and what is it that you were able to do in those circumstances? Because that's part of your arsenal of tools. That's your capability set. Remind yourself that you have been in uncertain, unfamiliar situations in the past and you have found a way. That understanding becomes the foundation for your ability to take bigger risks as you go along. The second practice that I'm going to share with you comes from the fact that we are living in a world that's changing much more than most people necessarily recognize. So, in your next meeting, when your team and your colleagues are discussing what needs to be done within your organization, think of how you can bring in ideas from a changing world that in some way challenge status quo, that in some way force your team to think about something new, something that they haven't done before. And I absolutely understand and recognize that the moment we try and do something or we try and speak about something that is uncommon in a meeting, the speaking up of something uncommon is in itself an act of courage. Try both of these out and tell me how you felt in them and tell me whether they worked or not. Thank you so much for joining in. Bye for now.